All right, I think we're here. Let me just get one more thing set up and we'll be good to go. Sorry about that, everybody. But I'm here. What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday, Trivia Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. How's everybody doing today? Today, I took a rest day. It's my first rest day in a long time, at least in 3-4 weeks. So it's been a while, but I think I definitely needed it, especially after how I was feeling yesterday. It was so weird. But I tried to sleep in today. I had a very hard time sleeping in today. I tried to sleep for as long as I could, and then I only made it to 5:30 in the morning. So my sleep schedule is definitely a little bit weird, but got a lot done this morning. Got a lot of koozies shipped out today, so that's good. I've got like my ship station all like figured out so I could print postage from home, all that. So koozies are going out and you should be getting them soon. I again apologize for the tremendous delay that some of you are experiencing. So sorry about that. But how's everybody doing here? We got Stevie76 in here. Greg Itahara is in here as well. J. Mike Remy. Party is in full swing now that I'm here. Awesome. That's cool. I mean, everyone should have the opportunity to feel that welcome when they come into a room. That is a really nice thing to say. Thank you. Mark Chan Coco, Casey A, JC says, yo, what up, Kofuzians? Awesome. All right. Ikram is here. My mom's here. Hi, Mom. How are ya? Gavin Braden is here saying, what's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday. Very cool. Motivation Theory Running's here as well. Good to see everybody. Good. We got a good solid crew in here already. How many people we got in here? All right, 56 concurrent so far. Awesome. Richard Smart's coming in from Texas once again. Good to see you again, Richard. Back fam. Try to sleep in on weekends, but my body craves repetition. So I just get up at the same time, but take it easier. Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. Recycle on Wednesday says, hooray for rest days. I hope you're feeling better. Yes, thank you for asking. I am feeling a lot better today. And I mean, it was to the point where I kept thinking like, oh, I should go out. Maybe I should go out. Maybe I'll just go out for a quick like 5K. But I was like, no. I'm just going to take the full rest day today and take it easy. Even though I don't kind of want to. Mr. West 39 says, how many miles should I run today? Wrong answers only. I say, you're Mr. West 39. So 39, obviously. Brett Leguess is here. Axelrod as well. Lewis Cameron. Very cool. Very cool. Today is Trivia Tuesday, where I will ask 5 trivia questions and a bonus. There will be no prizes and no points, but just something to keep the conversation going. I'll try to keep a running theme, and I think it's running. It's definitely running theme today. It's for nutritional equivalence is the topic. And what I did was I've been, experimenting with a lot of different gels, sports drinks, different ways of hydrating, both during activities and before and after activities. And so I thought I'd go over a couple of those and some other like nutritional equivalents today. So that's going to be the theme for the trivia for today. Let's answer a couple more questions and see who else is here real quick while everyone filters in. So there was a question I saw up here from Jared Crano asked, when did you stop taking weekly rest days? How many years of running or mile per week base? I stopped taking rest days. I mean, my last last marathon build. Last year for Chicago, I was on a training plan, and that training plan built in 1 rest day a week. And it was like a complete rest day. I don't even think like it was like, oh, go cross train or something if you want. I think it was just a complete rest day. So, or maybe it was cross training and I didn't do it. That sounds more likely. But generally, if I can pick it, I will kind of just plan on running every day. And usually like life gets in the way. And so like I get too busy or like I'm tired from running and because work has been particularly exhausting and I just might need a rest day because of that. And I probably started doing that maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Not too terribly long, maybe a year that I've been kind of operating under that. Just kind of like run. It's when I switched from like thinking about workouts. Instead of focusing on workouts, I started focusing on entire weeks. And then I was just like, all right, let's just get the rest day out of there. And then we'll just have good solid weeks. And then, when I need to pull back, I can pull back. When I feel like I can push, I can push. and tried to stay really flexible, mostly because of work schedule. But I also find that my body responds to that a little bit better too. So yeah, that wasn't a very solid answer, but when I felt like I could handle it, like, I was at one point, like, run streaking was really popular on Twitter. And so I was like trying to keep track of my run streaks, and I kept having like 10-day run streaks or 14-day run streaks. Then I take a day off, and I'm like, that's fine. I don't feel like that's a long period of time. And so then it just kind of kept going from there. And these days, I usually think of it as like, I run 14 out of every 15 days, but it's probably a little bit more than that these days. I'm not sure, especially now since like there's no work to get in the way, or there's very little work. Motivation Theory Running says, I have a hard time sleeping when running more and more miles. I don't have that problem. I have the opposite problem where I am able to fall asleep at like the drop of a hat. So like, when I'm like in full marathon training, and it's like, nearing kind of peak week and as intense as it gets, like if you let me sit down for long enough, I will be asleep. I'm not exactly like that right now, but this afternoon I did sit down with the baby for a little bit. We were playing Paw Patrol, and after like the fourth round of me having to pretend I'm Farmer Yumi and that my cows got out of the pen, like I think I just kind of fell asleep, and the baby was like playing and making her own episodes with the different Paw Patrol characters by herself. So I'm tired. I'm definitely tired from last week's running. All right. Steve Whitey says, yo, hope everyone is well. Halfway into an easy 8 miler. If I know an answer, I'll just shout loudly. That's awesome. I love the dedication there. That is super cool. All right. Well, with that in mind, Jen from Moss says, hi, ready for Trivia Tuesday. And what's the theme today? The theme today is nutritional equivalents. And here's going to be the first question. So it's going to be related to gels. Or not so much gels, but it's about caffeine and caffeine in gels. Because I love having caffeine in gels. And they come in a variety of like intensities from like 35 milligrams up to 100 milligrams. So like there's like a double espresso Cliff shots that has 100 milligrams. Martin Caff 100 has 100 milligrams of caffeine. How much? The trivia question is this. That was a long lead up. The trivia question is this. How much caffeine is there in a cup of coffee? And for a cup of coffee, I know it's going to vary depending on the cup, the roast, the brew, all that kind of stuff. The answer that I was kind of looking at was a Starbucks 12 ounce, like a tall coffee, 12 ounce cup of Starbucks coffee. Or if you have it converted to about 8 ounces, I'll look for a range. So we got some answers coming in. MC1796 says 85 milligrams. Jared Crano says 100 milligrams. Demas says 280. Let's see. Matt B says 60 milligrams. Bert 50. C. Chad Run coming with 80. Joseph Horn 75 milligrams. Let's see. We got answers all over the board. From 35 was the lowest. We've got a lot of them in like the 65 to 80 category, and some even higher. Martha's coming in with 160. The figure that I have, and I've looked at a couple of different places, and I think it depends on the brewer, like I was saying, is in a cup of coffee, like Starbucks 12-ounce cup of coffee, which is technically a cup and a half of coffee. But let's go with 8 ounces for an 8-ounce cup. The answer that I have is 180 milligrams. And so like when you eat a gel, you're taking all at once rather than over the course of the cup of coffee, about half a cup of coffee for Starbucks. And that's pretty strong coffee. Weaker coffees, probably be about half a cup of coffee for like a 35 milligram. So yeah, so it could be Stevie76 always coming in with $1 just so he doesn't go over in his bidding. Yeah, so let's see who had the closest. I think maybe Martha's closest if we're going by cups because she had 160. Who else was up here? Demas said 280, which I was looking around and it said there was one article that's been like widely quoted because it had an infographic in it, and it said that a cup of Pike's Place it just said Pike's Place, the coffee, like their regular like standard brew, was 330 milligrams of caffeine, which seems like a lot, but that is strong coffee in my mind. And I don't know what size. They never specified what size, but yeah. So all over the place. But I've always found though, like whenever I'm thinking about like HJ Viz says 35 milligrams per shot of espresso. Yeah, I think that's about right. But um, Jared Crano says blonde roasts are probably talking 100 to 130 for caffeine. Yeah, but I think like the darker roasts are higher in caffeine content than the blondes. Not because it's darker, but I just feel like. But yeah, so I think, but ultimately though, what's weird about it is like I don't know if like all caffeines are like created the same though too. That's like the thing that I've always been confused about, because I've had caffeinated gums before, and those would have like 35 milligrams or less per like serving. I think it was like like 2 pieces of gum, and I feel like that would give me jitters. And I don't know if it's because it's coming in through saliva, and also like kind of like with like chewing tobacco, it's coming in through like the capillaries in your mouth. And then the other thing is when I'm having caffeine in a gel, I always feel like it's hitting me really fast. And I've always assumed, because my stomach is usually pretty empty and your heart rate's flowing real fast, so like everything's just getting like absorbed quicker. So that's just kind of my take on it. Yeah, Bert, I guess, is agreeing that my number at 180 seems high. See, I've always thought that 200 milligrams was like the standard of like a cup of coffee is 200 milligrams. That's like, but then I started looking it up just to be like, oh, I should probably look that up just to be sure. And it seems to be all over the place. Jared said, never mind, just ask my wife, who is a coffee chemist, and she said about 200 milligrams. All right, very cool. All right, well, I will defer to the coffee chemist who says about 200 milligrams. So yeah. Martha says her Nespresso pods range from 60 something to 120 on the high end. Regular coffee makes her jittery if I drink a big mug of it. Yeah. Like I wonder, like I know like when my in-laws make coffee, they drink it by the pot basically. But I also know that they make theirs a little bit weaker. And so like it'd be interesting. Like I wonder if there's a way to like an at-home like caffeine testing kit. That'd be kind of fun. Chris Dyke says there's more flavor in dark because it's roasted longer and there's less caffeine. Oh, interesting. Bert saying also that the Starbucks blonde has more caffeine than the dark. I see it. Oh, huh. J. Mike Remy also chiming in with other way around. Lighter the roast, the stronger it is. Oh, so there is a connection between like lighter and darker roast. Interesting. Very cool. I'm learning so much about caffeine. MC1796 says caffeine in coffee usually takes like an hour to digest. That's interesting. Kurt Siege said, looked up Pike Place on Starbucks site, and for 16 ounces is $3.75. So then for 8 ounces, like a cup, that'd be about like 180 something. Again, I can't do math very, very quickly in my head. Demas M says, what do you think about run gum? See, I've never had run gum. It wasn't caffeinated gum. It was caffeinated mints that I had. A company sent me caffeinated mints a while ago, and I tried that, and that made me jittery like instantly. So I haven't tried run gum, mostly because I don't like the idea of chewing gum while running. I just feel like I'm going to swallow that every single time. So I haven't tried it before. Backfam says, it's like when you cook wine and the alcohol depletes, the longer roast on coffee dulls the caffeine. I think that sounds about right. Yeah. Adam Eade says, it's great if you don't like drinking before running and have it sloshing around in your stomach in terms of the run gum. That's a good point. Very good point. Landon White asks, Garmin 45 or 235? I think the latest current Garmin is a Garmin 245 rather than the 235. I don't know about the 235. I believe the 245 is, as far as I can tell, very similar to the regular, just like 245 is similar to the 45, but the 245 can, I think, pair to other kinds of sensors like foot pods. The 45 can pair to a heart rate monitor, but not to a power meter. So that's like the big difference in my mind. And as far as I can tell, like the only real difference, I'm not sure other than that. Casey A says, kind of want coffee now. Yeah. All right, let's get to the next question real quick, and then I'll answer some more of these questions while you got and respond to some comments while you guys are thinking about it. All right, so I recently had a whole I bought a variety pack of Tailwind, which it turns out at first I didn't like it when I did like a tasting of a whole bunch of different flavors, but the longer I've been using it, the more I'm coming to like it. And so there's a flavor called Colorado Cola, which tastes like Coca-Cola, but is just flat. And that has 50 grams per like sleeve of Tailwind. And you can put in as much or as little water as you want. I usually put in anywhere between like 24 and 32 ounces. So like anywhere between like, half a quart to a quart, with like a sleeve of Tailwind. And that's 50 grams of sugar. How much sugar, here's a question. How much sugar is in a 12 ounce can of like actual Coca-Cola? Tailwind's Colorado Cola, and I think all of Tailwind's products have 50 grams of sugar in them. And you can make that as strong or as weak as you like. But how much sugar is in a 12 ounce can of Coca-Cola? All right. Kevin Johnson looked up 8 ounces of Pike's Place on Starbucks. It's 155 milligrams. Yeah, that's a lot of caffeine. Chris McLean has Caffeine Bullet Minty Chews. They also do a chocolate. They now do a chocolate orange flavor. Interesting. Greg says, in terms of Run Gum, it's 100 milligrams of caffeine per pack of 2. You'd only need to chew for 5 minutes and spit out. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I might try that. But here's the thing. Like, I'm sure like Nick, what's his name? That runs Run Gum. He seems like the kind of guy that I don't know that I would get along with. And so like, it's a big turnoff for me to try Run Gum. I'm sure I would get along well with him in real life, but like, it just feels very bro-y, like all of his videos. And so it is a bit of a turnoff for me, I will have to say. I've never met the guy. I'm sure he's really nice, but just to be completely honest, I was trying not to like criticize him during this live stream, but it kept coming up and I just couldn't help it, I guess. Pia Johnson says, hey, Kofuzi, got a pair of Beacon 2s and they're ridiculously comfortable, but also nimble. Have you ever run any similar shoes you could recommend? Don't want to burn these out too quick. I would say if you really like the Beacon 2, I would look at the Kinvara. And I would say that the Kinvara 9 and 10 are probably more similar to Beacons than the Kinvara 11 is. I think the 11 got a little bit softer, a little bit more of a regular daily trainer. Doesn't have quite as much of that speed to it, I think. The thing that I didn't like about the Kinvara 9 and 10 is that it has like that hint of stability that Saucony likes to put in a lot of their shoes. So just be aware of that if that's something that matters to you. So that's another one that I would look at. That's probably the first one that comes to mind. Yeah, in terms of those. Let's see. All right, let's see if we got any answers for 12 ounces of cola. We've got a lot in here of answers in here. Jared Crane coming with 35 grams. I think that's pretty close. MC1796 is the first one to come in with 39 grams, and that is the answer that I had. So lots of people had 39 grams as well. Faster 26.2 says 39. Joseph Horn and Casey A both come in with 42. Perla guess says too much. Steven 76 says Mexican Coke. Let's see. Gavin Braden says 6 billion grams. Adam Eaton says, is 12 ounces like 330 milliliters? Because I have no clue. I think a can of it. I think that's 330 mils. I'm not sure. A lot of people are pretty close. Jody Run says 250 grams. That's a lot. But Ben says 35. Lewis says 40. BLRO 001. Bloro 01 says 33. Yeah. Zero and Coke Zero. That's true. Coke Zero, back when I used to drink soda, Coke Zero was my favorite. My favorite soda to drink. But I don't drink soda anymore. But yeah, 39 grams. So I think like if you thought about like actually having flat Coke might be like more potent of a drink for you. It probably has more sodium as well. So I don't know what that says about Coke or what that says about Tailwind. But yeah, it's surprising to see like what these like equivalents are. And I don't necessarily think they're equivalent just because like comparing like the carbs and the sodium to the carbs and sodium, I don't think that necessarily, that's not the whole, I think, story. But Brett Reed says, there's sugar in Coke? T. Davis says, I haven't had a Coca-Cola in years. Yeah, I haven't either. But I remember when my wife and I were dating and even into our early married life, one of our favorite things to do, like on a Saturday, this is obviously way before we had kids, was to relax in the morning on a Saturday, go out to brunch, and then on the way back, stop by 7-Eleven to get a big gulp and walk around before we headed home. So we would have like a giant breakfast, a ton of coffee, and then we'd have food coma from eating so much for breakfast. And so then we would have a giant like 36 or how big is a big gulp? A big gulp's 32 ounces. So 32 ounces of Coke. And I think we were both drinking Diet Coke at the time, but if we were drinking regular Coke, 32 ounces is like, what? It's like 100 and something grams of sugar in like a 10 or 15 minute walk home. So, I mean, hers would last a lot longer. Mine, I'd be done before we got home. So it's crazy to think about like some of these equivalents. KCA says, I've seen Coke clean corrosion of a car battery terminal. That's when I stopped drinking soda. You know, I saw like a thing where they like dissolved like human teeth overnight. Like someone like had like lost a tooth. This was in grade school, and like for the class experiment, like they volunteered their tooth and we gave them the tooth and then like dissolved. I don't know if it dissolved overnight or how long I don't remember how long it took, but we did that. And even then I was like, yeah, fair enough. And I just kept drinking sodas anyway. But that being said, my mom didn't really buy that many sodas when we were growing up. JJ Garza says, Frank Schroeder used flat Coke back in the day as an energy drink. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it would work. I mean, the numbers are right, and the flavor is good. I've had the Colorado Cola, which is like just like a flat cola flavor, and I thought it was tasty. It was refreshing. I mean, flat soda, like every time I've heard like ultra marathoners talk about that, bringing the flat cola with them when they're for their like aid stations, I was like, that just sounds disgusting. Cause like, I just remember like, if you've ever like had like, oh, here's a Coca-Cola, it's been in the car, and you open it back up and it's like room temperature or even hot. It just feels like just disgusting, but I like the tailwind. And so I think I would actually like it. All right. Martha's got an update on the East Bay Endorphin Speed Report. She got a message that a 25% discount doesn't apply to those shoes. I'm talking about the Endorphin Speed. I bet so many people fled with orders that they were losing too much money. I bet they did change that. That makes sense. MC1796 says, yo, PR yesterday at noon, though, way too hot, like 90 degrees Fahrenheit, but hit a 540 mile. Nice work. Congratulations on that. Richard Smart says, soda also takes the oily feeling off tile floor. If you happen to drop olive oil or another cooking oil, that's interesting. I wonder what it does to the hydration platters, though. So if it can do that to like, if it could like clean a car battery terminal, if you could use a can of soda to like clean a toilet, like I've seen people like they put it in there. I think it's the pH that does it. Put it in like a toilet and then it'll like clear out all the gunk that's in the toilet. What does it do? And if it could clean oil off of the floor, what does it do to a hydration bladder? I bet you that like just destroys them. Yeah, J. Mike Remy says, before sports drinks and bars, there was Coke and Snickers. Yeah, one of the questions that I was thinking about doing, and I never got around to it, I guess I just ran out of questions, is I want to have one about Snickers and carrying that around. But can you imagine how funny it would be? Like, I mean, I guess it's not that funny, but like if you were watching someone run and they were like, had like literally like a Coke and like a Snickers bar and they were just running down like a single track, that'd be kind of funny, but also not that weird. Now that you think about it. Louis Becerra says, all I know about Coke is that Warren Buffett owns way too much stocks of Coke. I didn't know that he was heavily invested in it. That makes me like it more. Oh, that's funny. Hilarious. Carlos PR says, coming in from Puerto Rico, says, old school triathletes, we use flat Coke or Pepsi for races because it has sugar, caffeine, and salt. Tastes horrible, but did the job. I mean, those are the three things that I really look for in a sports drink. So, I mean, I don't know. Greg Tahar says, Ironman 140.6, especially the championships have flat cola on the course. Well, I didn't know that. I mean, like, someone's job must be to make sure that they crack open all the soda, like 2 liters, so that way it's flat enough. Or I guess you could just make it with soda water that's flat. I'm not sure how they would make that much, but that's fascinating. I had no idea. Let's see. Adam Eames says, I remember doing the 10K section of a marathon relay in year 9 with my school. They were giving out Red Bull on the course, and it was like warm and made the floor so sticky. That sounds funny. That was probably someone's like brilliant idea, and then they were like, "Oh, that was a huge mistake." But was it good though? Oh, you said it was disgusting though. That's funny. All right. Yeah, MC 1796 says about Coke in a bladder. That fake caramel color will definitely stain it. And he asks, has anyone used Scratch Labs hyperhydration mix? I haven't used the hyperhydration. I've only used just like the regular ones. And I've been just enjoying them as regular, just sugar. Like if I want a sugary drink in the afternoon, I've been just making some Scratch. It's probably an expensive way to drink those, but it's been really good. And I don't have a lot of options here. Let's see. All right. Let's get to the next question. That was fun. All right. So this one is about carb loading. So we all are familiar with the idea of carb loading before an ultra marathon or a marathon or even a half marathon, making sure we have enough in our reserves by eating a whole bunch of usually spaghetti the night before or even 2 nights before a race. How many carbs are you getting when you eat a large bowl of spaghetti? And by large bowl, I found a website that defines a large bowl of spaghetti as 3 cups of pasta and 1.5 cups of marinara sauce. How many carbs are you getting in there? So like if you were trying to figure out what might work for me if I don't want to eat pasta and I want to have the same amount of sugars, like how much, what is the numbers that you're shooting for in there? All right. While you guys are coming up with some answers, let's check out some of the comments. Chris McLean says, did Snickers used to be called marathon bars in the US or was this just a UK thing? I'm not sure they were called marathon bars in the US. I think that was only abroad, right? Does anyone know? Because I don't ever remember. I always remember having Snickers bars around. Not having them, but like I remember them being around. But I don't remember them ever like changing names at one point. And I do remember though, there was like an explosion of candy bar options in the US at some point when I was in my bicycle riding phase, like growing up. So this was way before, like when I was old enough to ride my bike like unattended for hours at a time, or just be gone from the house for hours at a time, but not old enough to be like embarrassed to have ridden my bike somewhere. So it had to have been like when I was like not that much older than my daughter. And I remember it was just like there used to be like Snickers, Milky Way, and like Mars bars, and then like sometimes people ate like Almond Joys and Mounds. But like those were like the 3 like candy bars, and then like there was an explosion. There was like whatchamacallits. There was like just I'm saying explosion, but I can only name that one. But I just remember there all of a sudden we'd be at 7-Eleven or like the convenience store, and we'd be like, oh, so many options now. I don't remember if anyone else remembers that. EL says, I have no idea how Warren Buffett is still alive. His diet is awful. Is it really? I have no idea. I wonder I wonder if his diet is very different, say, from like Donald Trump's, because I think Donald Trump's diet is everyone like pretty much agrees that Donald Trump's diet is awful. Like I don't think the man eats vegetables. That's what I've heard. That could just be like a weird legend, but that's what I've heard. All right, let's see what you guys have for like a big bowl of spaghetti. All right. So a couple of different answers here. We have Demas M coming with 40, and that is actually, I thought that would be probably close, but that's actually way low. The Faster 26.2 says 92 grams, also pretty low compared to just the figure that I have. And it could vary, but the figure that I have, I think it's of cooked spaghetti. Bloro 01 says 150 grams, and it's really close to the number that I have. Bert Leguess says 500 grams. That seems like so much, right? And that's a lot higher than the number I have. The number I have is 159 grams. So we've got a whole bunch of answers, a lot of them coming in at around 200 grams. So yeah, that's a lot more than I was expecting. I always thought that like carb loading would get you like 80 to 100. So I was like, you know what? You don't have to eat spaghetti the night before, because I'm always worried about volume and poop the next day. So I'm like, I just drink a couple of sports drinks and I'll be fine. Like the whole idea of like drinking like the Martin drink mix, like the 320, like the night before, but you got to get 160 grams just to be the same as spaghetti. And I'm sure it's not just the amount of sugars that's beneficial for you that's in there too. Yeah, there's proteins and there's fiber as well. So other like good stuff that you might want to load up on the night before. So interesting. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I've been carb loading my entire racing life, but I had no idea that I was actually getting that much carbs. Jared Crano says, whoa, before I get to that, Louis Becerra says, Warren Buffett makes $900 million a year just from owning Coke? That is insane. That can't possibly be right. No way. Amazing. Jared Crano says, when Warren Buffett was growing up, he noticed the majority of caps were Coke in all the bottle cap opener discard bins. So he started buying them when he was young and he never stopped. Oh, that's crazy. That's like a weird way of dollar cost averaging. But, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, Martha says pizza instead of spaghetti, please. That question is that's coming up in the bonus. We'll talk about that soon. Shen says, I don't drink anything besides coffee in the morning for caffeine. When you use Noon, do you use the caffeinated kind? I always worry about crashing if I caffeinate with fluids and gels. When I drink Noon, I have two kinds. I get kinds that are caffeinated and I get kinds that are not caffeinated. So in the time of day where I might drink coffee, I'll drink a caffeinated Noon. The tropical one is it tropical or like something? It's like orange mango flavor. That one has like 35 milligrams of caffeine in it. I like that one. That's my favorite. The fruit punch is not caffeinated. So when I feel like I'm good on caffeine for the day, then I'll switch over and drink the fruit punch flavored Noon. Right now I'm out of both. So I think I've restocked. I think I have more coming. But I'm out of both. That's why I've been drinking just my Scratch in the afternoons. But yeah, I don't like, for me, 35 milligrams of caffeine. I won't even really, if I'm ingesting it like as a drink, if as a gel or as mints, apparently like it's different. But if I'm just just slowly drinking it, I won't really even notice it. So I don't crash, but it's hard for me to say on just 35 milligrams. All right. Let's see. George Zhang says, my first and only time doing steeplechase was part of sports day. I had no idea what I was doing. I was climbing over the barriers. My friend gave up and was swimming in the water. That's a funny steeplechase story. I love that. I've never had any opportunity. I mean, we had like a field day in like the 6th grade where it was like an obstacle course, but like that's the closest thing I think I've ever done to like a steeplechase. And I would really like to do one. I have not forgot about the steeplechase. Bert says, based on my wife's spaghetti portions, 500 grams is what he gets. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that seems like it's so much, but I guess that's right. Stevie76 says, carb load 48 to 72 hours before a marathon. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've always thought. Like, people eat the big meal like 24 hours before. I feel like I've been experimenting with eating my big meal like for breakfast the day before a marathon. So like it ends up being, exactly 24 hours before, and also making sure I'm really taking care of myself, like staying hydrated, making sure I'm not getting too hungry, like 2 days before. So 48 hours I think is an important time. I think that's the important night of sleep. And then from the day before, that's when I'm really starting to load up, but I don't know if that's wrong. I'm not sure. I've been playing around. I think my guess is it's pretty variable depending on the person. I could be wrong on that though. Let's see what else we got here. All right, let's go to the next question. I'm having fun with these today. All right, this one, number 4, is about gummies. So we have a whole bunch. I have 2 kids, so lots of gummies in the house. But the first thing that I ever chose in terms of in-run nutrition, I didn't eat gels for like I think it took me a long time to come around on gels. I just always thought they were really gross. And no one ever talked about them favorably. They always talked to me like they're like, the thing that you have to eat. So I was like, why would I want to try that? So the first thing I ever tried was Cliff Blocks. Like they're like big gummy cubes. Gatorade also makes some that are pretty tasty. Those are like gritty. The Cliff Blocks are my favorite. Some of them are even caffeinated. They're really good. They come in 6 in a sleeve, and that's technically 2 servings. So we'll go with 1 serving at a time. So 3 Cliff Blocks has 12 grams of sugar and is 100 calories. How much sugar is in this? a little snack size of like gummy. These are just fruit gummies, but like gummies or gummy bears. That's the question. How much sugar is in a little bag of like Welch's fruit snacks? All right. Let's see. While we're doing that, let's see what else we got in here. Jody Run says, when carb loading, 10 grams per kilogram body weight the day before. I can never get that amount in, and it is a lot of food and drink. That sounds like a lot. So 10 grams per kilogram body weight. I also can't really do kilogram conversions that quickly in my head. So I'm about 140 something pounds. So what's that like? I don't know. 60 something kilograms. So I need like, 60 grams. Then I need, wait, if I'm 60 something kilograms and I need 10 grams per kilo, that means I need 600 grams of carbs the day before. That sounds like an insane amount. That means I need 3 dinners. Four spaghetti dinners the day before a marathon. I will be pooping like crazy. That's too, I don't know. That's too much. That sounds like, that can't be right. Greggy Tahara said, I really should have had a registered dietitian on hand for some of these questions for today's live stream. Greggy Tahara says, my sports nutritionist says you should carb load a few days prior to your race. See, that I think that's the new trend, is to do it earlier and earlier out. I always thought, like, legitimately, honestly, until I was an adult, I always thought that carb loading was just a way, like a nice reason to make sure that basically like high school kids and college kids didn't get themselves into trouble the night before a race. And like, so our cross country team would always get together and we would have like spaghetti potluck, or like not potluck, but like spaghetti at like a different person's house. And you just make a bunch of spaghetti, and the team would come over, and you would all have like a nice dinner together, and then you'd all kind of go home. So that way no one's going out and getting into trouble or staying out too late. I really thought that was the only purpose of it. I didn't think that there was a biological reason or a physiological reason to do it until I was like, oh, you do need, okay. Oh, that makes sense. I was probably 30 when I learned that. No joke. Let's see. Someone was saying just eat pancakes and syrup all day. Where is that? That was before some of these answers, but that sounds good. All right. We got some answers coming in here. So for the amount of carbs, the guess for how many carbs in like a snack size of fruit snacks, Jared Crano coming with 10, Faster 26.2 says 12, Jody Run says 26. So we've got, Scott says 600 grams. That's a lot. But so there's 12 grams of sugar in half a sleeve of Cliff Blocks, and this has 19 grams of sugar in it and fewer calories too. I think these would be a little bit harder to eat because they're smaller, but it's amazing that they're cheaper, have more sugar and fewer calories. I don't know if that's good or bad, but interesting. Yeah. Martha says the same amount as Cliff Shots. I mean, it's pretty close. It's really close. I'm surprised about that. Yeah, we have some answers: 23, 32, 8, 12, but 19 is the correct answer, which I was surprised. Like, I've been really thinking about it a lot over the summer because I've been going through a lot of like sports drink and gels and all the recovery drinks and stuff, and like it's adding up. And I'm like, I wonder if there's a cheaper way to do this by just eating. I mean, yes, by eating like fruit and vegetables is probably the better way. But access to like fresh stuff is a little bit limited to me right now. So I've been thinking like there's got to be other ways, but I don't really want to start drinking lots of Coca-Cola again. James Chin says, kind of unrelated, how long do you feel that a long run has to be to bring hydration or gels with you? So for me, if I usually start thinking about it at 8 to 10 miles. So that for me is anywhere between like an hour and an hour and a half, depending on pace. So yeah, that's usually in the summertime. If I'm going to be out for longer than an hour, that's when I'll start thinking about it. Gavin Braden says, in terms of the amount of sugar in this, too much to let the kids have them before bedtime. For sure. Yeah. I mean, because their bodies are little. And so the sugar just hits them super hard. Yeah, the Fast 26.2 doing the math for me, saying 147 pounds is 66.7 kilograms. So if I'm supposed to carb load 10 grams per kilo of carbs, that means I have to take in 667 grams of carbohydrates. That's a lot. But I suppose over the course of a day, manageable. You just got to make sure you're eating and taking care of it. Martha says she used what did she use here? I lost that comment. Used Cliff shots once on a half marathon, and I had those things in my cheeks practically the whole way. Never again. Chewing them didn't even help much. Yeah, at one point, like, I used to really like them because then I was like, oh, there's 6 in the sleeve. So then, like, I eat one, I'll chew it, and I'll run a little bit. Eat another one, chew it, and run. And it was like a time killer. Just took my mind off of the running. But then at a certain point, as my running improved, I was like, this is just making it really hard to breathe for me. So that's when I stopped using the blocks and switched over to the gels. Kurt Steech says, true carb loading requires a lot more, including a few days of depletion before loading up before a few days. Interesting. Cool. Scott says, Cliff Shot Black Cherry was my favorite. I will say that was by far my least favorite flavor. Oh, I didn't. That's the one that I was like, oh, it's the only sleeve that they have left in the store. I guess I'll buy one. But I did not like that one. I like the red one, and yeah, the red one is the one that I like. I usually like the red flavor of anything. Yeah. All right. Let's get to some more questions here because I'm going to run out of time. All right. So this one, it sounds like another sugar question, but it's kind of not. So Gatorade Endurance is the drink that's found on most race courses, or I think that's the drink that's on most. When they say Gatorade, I think usually it's Gatorade Endurance. And I believe it has 23 grams of sugar per 12 ounces. But how much are you getting on average each time you grab a little cup during a race, though? So how many ounces or grams of carbs do you think you're getting? And it's going to vary as an estimate. But how much do you think you're getting when you grab each cup? And now, granted, all cups aren't the same, and they're sloshing around, and you're missing some. But like, in terms of like, if you're planning on how much sugar you're going to take throughout the course of the race, how often should you stop at water stops, that kind of thing, I think it's an important number to kind of have an idea of. So, what do you guys think? Jared Crano says, outside of the majors, Powerade is more common. I think that I've only seen Powerade at a couple of races. I saw Noon at some races for a while, and that kind of just disappeared. So, yeah. T. Davis says, I use gels for any double digits run. So starting at 10 miles, I'll take a gel at around mile 5 or 6. That's usually about where I'm at, T. Davis. So we're kind of the same thing. But I will tweak it depending on how hot it is. If it's cold, like wintertime, I probably won't even bring a gel for a 10-mile run. But in the summer, I definitely will bring at least one. Maybe if it's an 8-mile run as well, and eat one at the half. All right, let's see. Tyler Ead says, go with the Swedish fish. And Mark Chai and Coco says, now I need some Haribos. Haribo, that was a trivia question a while ago. I don't remember where the name came from, but that was like the question. All right, so we got some answers coming in here in terms of how many ounces of fluid you're getting or how many grams of carbs. So JB Scott says 2 to 3 ounces. I think that might be a little bit on the low end in terms of how much liquid you're getting. Jared Crano says 4, and that's kind of what I had always thought. That's what I would always estimate. Mark Chankoko says 5 ounces. Faster 26.2 says 8 ounces. That's definitely, I think, a lot. Kirsty's only gets 2 because he spills most of it, he says. T. Davis says probably a 4-ounce cup. Yeah, that's kind of what I've always thought. So, like, I forget what I was looking up, but it was I think it was, what was my source? I had a source that said you're getting about, I think it was Men's Health. So probably not the most intense source to have, but they said they were thinking you get about 3 to 4 ounces depending on spillage, and that equates to about 6 to 8 grams of carbs here. And so Luis Becerra saying 9, Gavin Braden says 15. Yeah, so it's like Tyler Heat says 2 ounces for your mouth and 6 ounces for your shirt. That's probably how like a lot of people end up doing it. Yeah, so I think that like that was eye-opening to me because I always figured 4 ounces, but for whatever reason I had in my mind was thinking that I was getting more sugar than the 6 to 8 grams of carbs. I don't know why I thought that. So I'll have to like tweak the next time I like think about my next marathon about how much sugar I'm getting. So yeah. Greg Itahara says Powerade is at the Disney races because it is a Coke product. Oh, that makes sense. Huh. All right. Martha says, LOL about where it ends up. When she started racing, her friend suggested alternating water and Gatorade and sometimes throwing water on your face. But once she threw Gatorade on her face. That's so funny. Oh, can you imagine like how miserable it would be? Because I mean, I know like at the end of marathons, I'm like covered in salt and it's crusty and gross, but also being like sticky from sugar. I mean, I am a little bit, I guess, because you're getting some of that Gatorade on you, but um, it's crazy. Louis Becerra correcting his earlier figure, he quoted me on how much Warren Buffett makes a year on owning Coke stocks. He makes $656 million from Coke, he says. That's crazy. Yeah, Stevie 76, and this is I think is like the biggest like question mark of it. And I'll agree with this. He says, I think they mix Gatorade or slash Powerade powder at the water station, so it's not consistent. And I think that's absolutely true. So who knows how much you're really getting in there? And so like I've been thinking about it like as a lot of times in my math, I think about in terms of like the amount of fluid I'm taking in, but I have been like assuming that most of my sugar consumption is going to come through gels. And I've been kind of wondering back and forth on that. I was like thinking, well, maybe should I rely more on the Gatorade? But that is a good point that I just think that there is going to be some variability and inconsistency that's in there. And to an extent that's good, big enough that it may throw me off. So that's a good, very good point. Very good point. All right. We're getting long here. So I'll get to the bonus question for today. So the bonus question for today, Martha was saying she'd rather have pizza instead of spaghetti for carb loading. So the question for today, in honor of Iowa and our location, is how many calories, you can do calories or carbs, either one, are in a slice of taco pizza. And for reference, I'm using Casey's. For the Casey's, which is the gas station slash general store slash like a little bit of everything place. Around a lot of rural communities, like in Guttenberg, Iowa. How many grams of carbs or how many calories are in there? I will let you know that in a slice of it, there are 720 milligrams of salt, which is just insane. Yeah. Demas M says, on your long run days, do you stop to walk or take a break and then keep on your run? And your half marathons, do you stop to drink or do you try to drink while running? So on long run days, if I'm relying on water fountains for my water, I will kind of just like stop at the water fountain, eat a gel there, and then keep running. But lately I have been running with a hydration bladder. And so I just keep running the entire time as I'm running. And then for half marathon races, I don't stop to drink. I will drink while running. And so I usually slow down just a little bit to make sure I'm not sloshing around so much, because I feel like that couple of paces of slower running or even jogging to make sure I'm getting in the fluid is worth it in like the long run. So I'll do that. And I know, but Hal Higdon, who is an online coach and an IRL coach to many thousands of runners over the years. He is a proponent of the walking through water stations. And he says that he's always done it. And his son, who is like a 250 marathoner or something like that, a very fast runner, has hit his PRs using the walking through water stations. He says it like just relaxes your muscles a little bit. It's not that long. It makes sure that you can get proper hydration. And then he picks it back up from there. So that's the way that, I think that's how he still advocates treating the water station. So there's no wrong way to do it, I would say. It just depends on what works for you. And I was just reading something today that Matt Fitzgerald posted on his blog on the idea of he's going to start testing out variable pacing for marathon, for optimal marathon racing, where instead of like, if you want to hit a certain time, just divide that time by 26.2 miles, and that's your pace, and you should try to hit that for every single mile. There's a variable pacing theory that says you should start out fast, slow down for the middle portion, and then get progressive at the end and go faster, which a lot of the rationale for that, could be consistent with using a little bit of a walk through the water station strategy. So interesting thought. All right, so let's see what we got here for taco pizza. 480 calories for one slice. And the thing is, when you get taco pizza or like pizza from Casey's or Happy Joe's, which are like, I think probably the two most popular purveyors of taco pizza, the slices are thinner than like, let's say definitely thinner than like a New York slice, maybe like even half the width, but even like thinner than like a Domino's slice of pizza or like a Pizza Hut slice. So, but The figure that they have is 330 calories. So 400 is a little bit high, but a good guess. Definitely. DAGMA says 550 calories. Mark Chen Coco says a slice of taco pizza is more salt than ramen. I'm not sure. I think most ramens are in the thousands. But you're not going to eat just one slice of taco pizza. It's too delicious. But you also wouldn't be very sated with just one slice of taco pizza either. We've got 200 calories. That's all low. It's 330, guys. It's crazy. It's the crushed Doritos on top that does it, I think. But we got a variety from 200 to 400. Martha came in at 430. Chris McLean at 350. Yeah, we got a lot. The amount of sugar that's in there is 35.4 grams of carbs. So you would need to get the equivalent of a spaghetti dinner, because we said it's 159 grams of carbs there. So you would need like about a little bit more than 4 slices of pizza, which I think would probably, I'd probably eat 5 or 6 if I were eating that as my dinner. Yeah, so I guess I'd be sufficient for carb loading, but like the amount of salt, I guess I would make sure that'd be bad for hydrating, but it would make you drink a lot of fluid. But yeah, so taco pizza, surprising no one, not that healthy for you. Oh, that's so funny. James Chin says, do I prefer Lou Malnati's or Giordano's? I don't prefer either of those because they're both deep dish pizza, and I would usually not pick either one. Giordano's is what we pick whenever we have guests in town, because that's the most like when people think of what is deep dish pizza, a Giordano's I think meets that expectation the best. It's like a character. It's a Giordano's is a caricature of deep dish pizza, which in and of itself is a caricature of pizza. Lou Malnati's I like that much more because it tastes better. It's not as like over the top. And they have better, my wife is much more comfortable with them in terms of their allergy awareness. So we have a peanut allergy in the house. So that's whenever we're ordering for just our family, the girls do like the Lou Malnati's pizza, which I forgive because they were born and raised in Chicago. So that's what we get for them. But whenever there's guests, like when my in-laws come in town or if my family comes in town, it's almost always Giordano's. All right. So I do want to answer one quick question before I go, but then we'll end it for today. We'll do two things. But first, Beverly Road No Hills says, hey, brother, I have wide feet and am a beginner runner. Hoka or Nike? I would definitely go with Hoka's for that. Nike offers wide sizes. So if you can find a shoe you like that's in a wider size, like a Vomero 14, I think would be a good option. Or like, I don't know if the Epic React or the Infinity React come in wide sizes, but I think the Vomero does. Like those in wide sizes I think would be good. Otherwise I'd go with Hoka. Hoka also has a lot of wide size options, but the regular sizes are also a little bit more forgiving. So that's where I would go. And then J. Mike Remy says, and we'll end with this one, says, run the Chicago Marathon, eat at Giordano's, take a river tour, and that's Chicago basics. I think that's a good way to go. I would recommend that for people visiting Chicago for the Chicago Marathon. Whenever it is, we can have another one. But yeah, that's a good way to do it. Ken Kim, I'll end with this. Sorry, I keep saying I'll end with it, but Ken Kim says, wait, first time joining Livestream. We're talking about food. Nice. I found the right place. You are definitely in the right place. We end up talking about food and usually pizza most days around here. All right. Well, with that, I think I'll end it. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining in. I had so much fun today. I hope you guys liked the trivia. The answers weren't really that trivia-y. The answers were all kind of vague in ranges. So not the best, not the most skilled trivia question that I've done, but I had fun with it. I hope you guys had fun too. Tomorrow I'll have another video up in the morning. I also had a meeting with like a virtual meeting with Ed Bud today. So our collab videos will be coming out Thursday. So that's coming up. So check out for that. But I'll also have another live stream tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Time, tomorrow afternoon as well. So feel free to check me out any of those places. Hopefully you guys will join in for another live stream again, because it's been a lot of fun to have you guys here. And in the meantime, hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.